I'll show you fucking enthusiasm.
What are we doing?
As soon as I finish eating. All right. Hey, everybody. We're back with the Grave Show with Chris and JRuss. We got a guest today, Mr. Mike Bohn. How you doing, Mike?
Hello, sir. How everybody doing today?
Mike,
We need
thank
to
you
talk
for
to Mike about enthusiasm. I
thank you
got
for
all the
joining us,
enthusiasm.
Mike.
I don't think you really want me to get going this early. You gotta really,
No.
you gotta let me in slow, pal.
Yeah.
Podcast
No,
is
we
going to be
we want to get you fired up, man. We want the full
yeah.
100% Mike.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
No
man,
holds
let's hear it.
barred.
All right, Mike. Who are you? Just give us a really brief bio.
Um, my name is Mike Bohn. If you haven't met me, I'm a professional skydiver. I own Skydive Orange Skies or Orange Skies Free Fall Center out of Fort Morgan, Colorado. My skydiving history is mostly based around free fly competition and big wave records. And most of my competitive background and military work and all that stuff these days, records mostly West Coast, Arizona area is kind of where my upbringing is into the free fly scene.
What was it like? Do you remember? Was there a moment when you decided like I'm gonna buy this drop zone, or I'm gonna start this drop zone, or I'm gonna own? Like, do you remember? Like, what made you decide, or how'd you end up where you are now?
Well, there was a couple factors. There's a couple big factors. One was when I first started training on Team Flow in the very beginning. We all know Mile High Skydiving. I was training at Mile High Skydiving, and they had a little private hangar on the side of the field. And my teammate, Leland Purcell, his father, I'd throw these big barbecues for the drop zone because that's never really been a thing at that drop zone. They never really did that stuff, but I tried to. So I'd have hot dogs, burgers, brats, kegs of beer, stuff like that. And Leland's dad told me one time, we were sitting out there at the end of a jump day, and he's like, Mike, he's like, if you had an airplane and a manifest person, he's like, you'd be a DZO. And I think that kind of triggered a thought. But at that time in my life, I was actually trying to convince somebody to give me $13 million to build a wind tunnel. Yeah, I know. As we all were. But funny enough, though, I think it was 2016, I was actually surfing one morning with Andy Malchiotti in California, and my partner at the time called me and told me I was going to have a baby girl. And that was it. You know what I mean? I stopped pursuing the pipe dream of opening a wind tunnel. I called one of the original advisors, investors, and said, hey, I need a business loan. I'm going to open a drop zone in Colorado. I knew that I had to quit fucking around. I had a kid on the way. Changed everything.
Wow. So how far did you get in the fundraising for the wind tunnel?
Had I known now, or had I known then what I know now about raising money, not to say I could do it today, I would have gone about it differently. You know what I mean? I would have approached the banks differently, and I would have had a different approach towards investors, and I would have spoken a little slower. But the reality is when you're in your late 20s or whatever it is, or early 30s, or I don't even know these days. But the funny part is the older you get, the more you realize that you just don't know.
Dude, you just read my mind? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I've learned a lot through my lessons, and I think about what I must have looked like to some of these. I went in front of a lot of people with a lot of money, and had these fancy metal business cards. I remember I'd throw them out, and people were like, yeah, I'm Mike Bohn from Fly Lab. And I remember one guy picked this business card up, and he looked at it, and he's like, do you consider yourself a frugal person? Looking at like a $5 business card, and I was like, I think I'm pretty responsible with money. Like looking at my partner at the time, and he's like, these are really nice cards, and I already knew we were fucked at that meeting. I was like, should we just get the fuck out of here?
That's awesome, dude. So many times in my life when I've been like so confident I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what was going on, just to find out that I was completely clueless. Completely clueless, you know, just absolutely wrong.
Feel that way
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Okay, so how long have you been running the drop zone now?
We started the drop zone, first year of operations was in 2018 in Fort Collins.
Okay.
We actually were shut down by the city in our first year, by the county in our first year, and had to move out to Fort Morgan.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell us that story.
Yeah.
Is it interesting?
Well, it's pretty freaking interesting.
Okay, we want to hear it.
It resulted in lawsuits and fights that until recently just closed out this last year.
Can you tell us about it? I mean, is it something that
Yeah, I mean, at some levels, I found an airport up in Fort Collins, and there was this farmer there. He had a situation where he said that he had these people that had overtaken his land, and he said if I helped him, that he'd be willing to sign this 20-year lease, and I'd open this airport. I went to Larimer County. I sat down with their planning commission, and they're like, "This is a great idea. This is going to be great for the community. This is going to be great for this." And I was like, "All right, great. Let's bang." So I took the investment. I went and removed these psychotic pot growers. I mean, it's a really deep, long story. That being said, I was victorious in having these people removed from this land. I dumped a ton of money into this airport, got it up and running, and I started rallying the community, the local community, because they were tired of the drugs. They were tired of the dangerous people there. They wanted something that they could be proud of in their neighborhood, and they were. But come to find out, before long, I started getting notices from the county, and this guy called me, and I'm just going to say this on the internet. They're called Cobb Hill. They're a bunch of billionaires. Some of them are just millionaires. But they own Fort Collins, regardless of what everybody thinks they know. Those fuckers own Fort Collins. Their president, I can't remember his name at the time. God, I wish I could. He called me and he said, "Shut down your drop zone." He's like, "Or I will fucking end you." Me being a Marine.
He said that over the phone to you?
Yeah. Me being a Marine and me being a cocky fucker, thinking that I can do everything, as you guys are well aware. As I just explained earlier, I was like, "Give it your best shot."
Bring it.
And he did. So, I don't even think it took that much. They just whipped my ass.
What do you mean? What'd they do?
Well, they went to the county. The county filed a suit saying that I was in zoning infraction. And then apparently this document surfaced with this farmer. He had signed an agreement, something like 10 or 20 years prior, that he would never allow skydiving on the field. So he committed a great fraud against me, in which we countersued him and so on and so forth. And that's where the lawsuit went on for years. But nonetheless, I remember the day the judge shut us down. I think it was November 17th. I got pulled to the courtroom. I had a bunch of my staff there. And judge said that she loved everything I did. She loved all the letters that she read from the community, that she found me to be an honest and hardworking person. She's like, "But I work for the county." She's like, "We're going to shut you down today, son."
Oh, bro.
They shut down my drop zone. I proceeded to drive to the Chase Bank parking lot, where a good friend of mine, Shay Curtis, she put her hand over my back while I sat there and pretty much sobbed and cried, not knowing how I'd tell my staff what had happened. And I went into the bank and withdrew the last $8,000 cash that the company had. And then I started out here in Fort Morgan, Colorado, with a rented Connex box and packing on a tarp over dirt.
Wait, the $8,000, that was you were just closing that account, or you had
that? Yeah, because I had so many bills open that I knew it would disappear if I didn't take it.
Oh my goodness. Dude, okay, so I mean, over the next, like, how did you mentally, emotionally, like, work through that?
Well, like I said, I cried for a solid 15, 20 minutes, not knowing what to do. And then, like the usual me, I started getting kind of angry, kind of mad.
Yeah.
And I started, I told her, I was like, "This isn't ending right here." And that very day I sat down and I said, "Open the book. We're going to call every single airport on the chart, every one of them." And we started calling airport after airport after airport after airport after airport. And Fort Morgan actually originally told us no. They said absolutely not. I came here and I was like, look, I'm not looking for a fight, but you guys are federal airport. They're like, yeah, well, we still say no. I went to Brush and I got chased out of a. If I had all the time in the world, I'd tell you guys stories. I just real quick side note: there was a farmer in Brush that got up in a city council meeting and said that he caught 2 skydivers having sex in his backyard.
Why?
10 years.
Why is it always a farmer?
Yeah.
Why?
And then
it's always a farmer.
Then he looks at me and he's like, after all these years, the wound is finally healed. And they're like, why are you going to pull off the bandage and start the bleeding again? When I talk about pitchforks, I'm not joking. They chased us into the parking lot, some of these people, and started screaming, "Get the fuck out of Brush!" I was like, "Oh my God, on. That happened. We got chased to my truck by people from the city." So I came back to Fort Morgan, and I told them, I said, "Look, you're a federal aviation airport. Give me your minimum standards. We're going to operate here." They gave me the minimum. They didn't have minimum standards at the time. The airport manager was very much against this whole thing. He had a bad experience with other skydivers. The problem is with our sport is that so many people, just because we press the edge, just because we like to go out there and play with the laws of gravity, just because we have a little bit of a wild edge to us, we've ruined it for ourselves. We're like the skateboarders of the sky. You know what I mean? Yeah. Skydiving is not a crime, but the
ride or die.
But the reality is that a lot of these boneheads have really screwed it up.
Yeah.
And there's just been a lot of disrespect to a lot of communities out there. And, with my background being more competitive, I focused really hard on community here in Fort Morgan. I got really close to the farmers. Some of them are some of my closest friends up here in Fort Morgan. And I started working hard at the airport. And that airport manager that didn't like me, a few years later, keep in mind, when I first there, they put signs up all over the airport that said "Skydivers not welcome." And
nice.
then they put call 1-800-FAA to report skydivers. So 3 or 4 years in, this airport manager, he comes to me and says, "Hey, I think that you should be on the airport advisory board." And so I joined the airport advisory board, started hosting events for the community, for the airport. Started bringing together relationships that hadn't worked for a very long time on that airport. Farmers that were in big disagreement with the airport, I started to show them a different side, that there are good people, that I do care about the local community. And then unfortunately, that airport manager had an accident 2 years ago. He passed away. And when he did, the airport went up for bid over this last year, and the city of Fort Morgan nominated me as the Fort Morgan airport manager, and now I own the FBO and manage the entire Fort Morgan airport.
Wait, you own the what?
The FBO is a fixed base operator. It's a term for the managing contractor at a federal airport.
Wow. So wait, at that airport now, you're the man? Like, you're the dude?
I don't know if I'd call myself the man. I'd call myself the janitor. I'd call myself the handyman.
Yeah.
The middleman.
But you're the guy who originally told you no.
I'm the guy that originally told me no.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. And why are you that guy? You just told us. I'm going to say because of hard work, integrity, honesty, directness, kindness. Are these all true?
Yeah, man. In the end, it was simply about doing the things that you say you're going to do.
That's awesome, man. Dude, that's fantastic. But a lot of kindness, a lot of hard work, a lot of responsibility, right? I mean, that's fantastic.
It's a lot of work. It's quite awesome, though. I love the people
so
up
cool.
here. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Man, that's really awesome. And so what plane what are y'all using?
So I work with Keith out of Skydiving Midwest. I'm sure a lot of people know him. We mix it up. I start with his Kodiak, and then oftentimes we move into the Blackhawk Caravan as the season kind of starts to pick up.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. That's really cool. All right. Well, JRuss, I can keep asking questions, but if you got something, go ahead, chime in.
I mean, your questions have been great so far. As long as you're talking about the DZ, Mike, you guys kind of do a buttload of tandems, don't you?
Yeah, I wish I did a buttload of tandems. Kind of like free flying and skydiving, I look up to all the big dogs. You know what I mean? Mike Vetter, Rich Grimm, frickin' Rook Nelson, all the big dogs around the world, Skydive Paris, Skydive Arizona. I look at these DZOs, and I know a lot of these drop zones, they've been built on decades of success. So I consider myself a very, very small fish. But yeah, we run through a couple thousand tandems a year, and we do a really good job at it. 100% safety record thus far. We've had a broken ankle or two, but I don't ever count those.
Well, what do you think? What do you think those guys that you named? You named 3 or 4 of them. One, I know Rook. I don't think I know the other guys. I mean, I know who they are, but I don't know them.
Mike Vetter, Go Jump.
Yeah, I mean, I know their names, but I've never met them. What's the difference? What are they doing? I mean, is it? Yeah, what's the difference?
Well, if you look at Mike's story, I'd say it's pretty similar to mine. He's just a lot older than me now. But he also focuses greatly on perfect location.
Okay.
I mean, he's a location animal. You look at, he just opened Long Island. He's got Oceanside, California, Vegas. Like, he hits the major things, but what he's a true expert of, he's a marketing genius. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. A marketing genius.
Oh yeah.
Marketing is so hard, man. Marketing is so difficult.
His moves, the way he puts stuff online, the way he attracts customers, the way he attacks regions, he's a force.
That's cool.
And he's quick. He's quick. He's had aircraft accidents. He's had, I can't even imagine the problems that he deals with. And each DZO has told me a few things. Rich Grimm always told me, become a DZO, it'll be a license to print money. I don't know about that one. I give him a hard time about that. I give him a hard time about that all the time. But Mike Vetter used to always tell me, he's like, the bigger you get, he's like, high power, high loss. He's like, if you're going to push a lot of tandems, a lot of speed, you want to deal with a lot of customers. If something goes wrong, you start losing a lot of money and you have a lot of overhead. So that balance in business is tough.
So what do you like? What are the things for you that have helped you be successful?
For me, just to be honest, just filthy perseverance, just nonstop effort. That's really what it comes down to in my situation. That's really the best way I can put it for myself. Different guys have their talents, whether they're super smart or where they have a shitload of money. Money really helps. But for me, it's just been putting one foot in front of the other over and over and over again. And to be fair, my connections, my resources throughout the industry are quite vast. I know, because of my competition, besides the fact that a lot of these guys are DZOs or stuff like that, I've competed side by side and flown on records side by side by the greatest skydivers in the world. So it doesn't really matter where I go, what part of the country, or even sometimes the world, I have a friend there I can call.
That's cool. Shoot, I had another question. Oh, what is something that you wish what is something that you wish skydivers understood better, or at least had a grasp of, like, concept of that for a drop zone owner or drop zone manager? What is the thing that a lot of skydivers just don't understand or are missing or unaware of that we need to know, that we need to hear?
Oh,
how can we help you? How can we be better when we're at your drop zone or a drop zone? How can we help that drop zone be successful or run smoother? Or what is it that you're like, man, if skydivers would just do this or know this?
So the biggest thing that I think, and this is another thing Mike Vetter used to tell me all the time. When I first started, I'd call him freaking out. sometimes on the edge of tears. I still do that with Rich Grimm. And I'm like, oh my God, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I'm in this constant panic. And they're always telling me to start focusing. You know, Mike is always like, you know, you need to focus on the business and quit focusing on the fun jumpers so much. I'm going to move over just a little bit because I feel like I'm sun blocking you guys. I'm so sorry. But one thing that's happened to me throughout time is that, you know, when I was a bit of a younger jumper, you know, you have a tendency to blame the DZO or blame the drop zone. Oh, there's a 2-hour call on this plane. Everyone was just complaining about Mile High this last week. Oh, they had 5-hour calls. They called the other DZOs. That's what skydivers like to do. They like to call the other DZO and tell them about the problem at this drop zone. They don't think that all of us DZOs talk to each other. We all know each other. That, you know, I even talked to Frank once in a while. It's kind of crazy. That being said, the funny part is like they just don't necessarily understand that drop zone's a business like anywhere else. You can't just, you know, like for example, on this last one, I don't know Frank's situation, but all these guys are like, why don't he just start up another plane? Well, I'm like, well, probably because it needs to be insured. Probably because he needs another pilot. Probably because it's blah, 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 blah. That's probably a $50,000 decision. And here's the thing, the jumpers, they're there on that Saturday. They're pissed off that day, but that drop zone has to run 6 other days that week. So I get a lot of this where jumpers are like, why don't you do this? Or, you know, like, you know what you need? DZOs hear that all the time. But the funny thing is, it's like, okay, cool. I appreciate your input. You've been here. You come out here 1 day a month. You know what I mean? I'm sorry it wasn't the perfect situation for you on that day.
Yeah.
But granted, I would say I'm one of the DZOs out there that I push pretty hard for my jumpers, at least the ones that I see pushing for the sport.
Yeah.
You know, the young guys that I see trying hard and the kids that are trying to learn, or it doesn't matter what stage in their career at. If I see the effort, I pour myself into them.
Yeah. That's good. That's cool. It's a fun group of people.
Yeah.
There's some crazies, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Mike, can you talk just a little bit about the competition side of your background?
So I was a free fly competitor, which is, you know, like the two dudes that do synchronized flips and hold hands and, you know, do the kind of figure skating in the sky kind of stuff. I was real attracted to this when I was a young skydiver first learning in San Diego. There was a team out there called Axiom. It was Nick Boyd and Matt Lewis, and God, I thought they were so badass. You know, they would do my AFF. They did my AFF jumps, and you know, you'd watch these guys in the weekend doing these backflips out of planes into mine warps and shit, and everyone would be watching their videos at the end of the day, and I was in love with it. I never thought I'd be able to be that good. I never thought I'd be able to fly like that. But, you know, I came to Colorado, and you know, after I got to Colorado, I started to see the wind tunnel there, and, you know, Russell was there then. That was our first introduction to each other. And I hammered after it for quite a while, you know, got a lot of jumps, a lot of tunnel time. And then there was a point at which I didn't get on a world record in 2013 or 2012. And I got super pissed off because, you know, I had an ego on me. And what was going through my head is all these people that I was even flying better in the wind tunnel, flying better on camps, you know, they were on this record, and I was just furious. And I didn't get on it. And I went, you know, to be honest, I got in the car and drove home screaming all the way from Chicago to Colorado. And my partner at the time, we opened a credit card, and I said I was going to start competing. And I was like, I'm going to make it my job to just wax everybody that I can wax from here forth. And that's all I did. We did a VFS team first year, static. And then after that, I went after the passion, the free flying. And then I think we went undefeated 5 or 6 years in a row as U.S. Open champions. But, you know, at a world stage, the best we ever did was silver, I think in 2017 at the World Cup in Germany. Fuck the fucking French, man. You know?
Pretty good. I mean, you guys competed for a lot of years and in a very well-developed discipline. and highly competitive for every spot. So only finishing second, I think, is an accomplishment. I'm sure.
Dude, that's huge. That's
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
What was
we
the name of-
banged.
What was the name of your team?
Oceanside Flow, Team Flow. Yeah, at the apex of our career, we were doing almost 800 training jumps a year. You know, we were really going after it. But
Who were your teammates?
they kind of bounced around, but Colby McNeil, Leland Purcell, and JRuss.
We had Chad on the show yet?
No.
Okay.
So for that, you have two guys flying and one guy camera, right?
Yeah.
So who was the camera?
Chad and Leland flew camera.
Okay. But I mean, they have to fly just as technical and advanced as the other two guys, right? I mean, is that true?
The camera guy's slot in that particular discipline, you know,
I mean, it's
like
legit,
in Russell,
right?
in Russell's discipline, it's a lot more, you know, it's a lot more objective because they either can't see the point or they can. But with the camera flying, you know, there's an argument for everything, you know, and half the judges don't know if it's on purpose, if it's not on purpose, what that presentation is supposed to be. You know, at the beginning of each one of those competitions, you do this presentation to the judges, explaining your routine to them.
Okay.
You know, and I'd go in there and give my whole spiel. But you can't beat the French guys. Their spiel is so much better. Always. You know, we move to the left and we do this flow. We bring this presence. And the judges are just like, obviously, these guys are the best.
Dude, you need to speak with an accent. That's the accent.
It's exactly right. It's exactly right. It's like the one thing we don't have going for us.
They don't even know what they said. They just said it with an accent.
No, I competed against Greg and Kareen and, you know, good vibes in those guys. And to be honest, it was some of the best times of my life hanging out with those dudes. They can rip so freaking hard. So they're still doing it,
I guess. They can fly a little bit, I guess, a tiny bit.
Oh God, they can rip, yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. Well, I'm sure I have not seen. I need to look up your videos because I'm sure you're doing unbelievable stuff.
I mean, I think sometimes for the people who might hear the podcast, if you've got 100 jumps or 1,000 jumps, but you have not gone to a competition, it might be hard to imagine. You know, like Mike saying, "Oh, we only got silver," and you're like, "Oh yeah, they only got silver. That's not very good." But then when you start going to the competitions and you see the level of flying, then silver becomes, wow, you got fucking silver.
Dude.
I mean, he mentioned Greg and Kareen, but there's been French teams. I mean, there's good teams from all over the world. The French are standout for sure. But just some of the best flyers in the world. And when you go and try and slug it out with them, and your teammate or your camera flyer makes one mistake in one round, and that's it. You know, and it's not that the other I mean, I guess I take a little bit, not offense, but hearing Mike say we only ever got second against the best flyers that have ever existed. Okay, so you were a couple tenths behind the best flyers that have ever.
We almost had them. God damn it,
dude! I mean, you know how many people, myself included, would love to be able to say we got second in the worlds and free. Dude, I would be like, dude, if I could fly
second
like that,
at the world meet.
If I could fly like that, because that means you are just phenomenal. And I'm not even close. Like, that would be so awesome.
I miss the etiquette. If I were to look back at competition, I miss being on the plane with all the like sponsored suits and sponsored shit. And the skydivers, when you look at them, the world, you know, the professionals, all their shit fits so clean and all their gloves are perfect and all their helmets and you know, and like when they get up and move down the bench, like how clean everyone moves past each other. It's a level of precision that you just don't get to experience except for in that moment. And I think sometimes I think back to it and I miss that so terribly.
That's so interesting.
You know, you see it when we military contract too, you know, like I was on a plane with Russell the last couple of weeks and we sit side by side for 2 weeks and I get it then too, you know, but it's that was what it was. That's what was awesome. Just even the way they opened the door, the way they spot, the way they move, like it's just fucking awesome, you know.
That's cool, dude. I've never heard anyone say that. That's interesting. The military moves and acts the same way with that
Well, just
precision.
Jason and I and a few other, several others, you know, we work for the Curtises for Arsenal, and they hire, you know, some of the apex instructors around the world, in my opinion. And yeah, getting an opportunity to work next to Russell is, you know, we were challenging each other on our 270s last week on a foot by foot piece of rubber, you know, swooping a football field, trying to beat each other by inches in between the beer line. And I beat him most of the time, but that's good to know. We're just gonna put that on record, pal.
That's good to know.
But you know, it's
hey,
fun to be with those
next
guys.
Time. We want to see video.
Oh God, he's really good. But yeah, you know, you see the same thing, the way they put their helmet on and the way they move in the plane and the way they help the way Russell helps his students, it's second to none.
That's cool.
I think
he's
I mean those
king.
guys that the course that Mike and I worked, it's just such a high caliber of soldier. You know, some of the most elite fighters that we have in the US. And so the when Mike's talking about precision, you know, they have a methodology that they use, and their time calls, and the flow of the operation, and he's right that it is it's just second to none. And there are other military groups that come over to try and learn from the groups that we work with, and it's a reflection of their training, but it's also a reflection of the serious nature of the training that they're doing right at that moment. That some of it's really fun, and some of it carries consequences if it's not done right. And you know, as long as we're on this subject, a few of those guys listen to this podcast, and some of our upcoming work has changed because things are a little bit different in the world than when the work was set up, and those guys are out getting stuff done. So shout out to those guys that are sorry that we won't be working with you, but hopefully you guys can get done what the government's asking you to do and get home safely, and we'll get back to prepping you for the next thing.
There were a few words that came to mind when you guys were describing those situations, and the words that I was thinking of is precision, discipline, preparedness, awareness. Like, are those accurate descriptors of those situations that allow those people to act and move in those ways?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, totally.
That's really cool. That's very cool. Can I switch subjects just for a minute? Because I just thought of this. So, and maybe Mike, you can chime in as a drop zone owner. We had a fatality a couple of weeks ago. Did you hear about that, JRuss? Mike, did you hear about it at San Marcos, Spaceland San Marcos?
No, I don't know anything about it.
So I have not reached out to the wife, her husband that passed away. They both, husband and wife, they both jump on a regular basis, very experienced. I haven't reached out. I want to reach out to her at some point and just ask her for some more details, just so we can share and maybe help the community. So I'm not exactly positive on the details that I'm going to share. It's just what I've heard. I tried to, kind of test the accuracy through a few different people, but it was a very windy day, but the winds were okay. I mean, it was high winds, but the gusts weren't spread out too far. It was just high winds. But they had been jumping and everybody was fine. And so they sent a load up from the time they got to altitude and exited until they got down to land. Much stronger winds evidently had come, like much stronger, and gusting. The gusts there was a bigger variance in the gusts, right?
Yep.
And so evidently the man who passed away, who died, he was coming in and found himself in a downwinder, like extremely fast downwinder. And I think he tried to do a flat, low turn, to try to get back into the wind, and whatever that combined with the high winds, and he ended up landing hard into a barbed wire fence and getting, I think, drugged through the barbed wire fence. So it was a combination of impact, you know, getting jacked up from the barbed wire fence, and just I don't know what all it was, but he had passed away before the life flight even got there. He was evidently already gone. But I just bring it up. I think I want to find out more details so we can discuss it and try to learn from it and share with people what they need to learn. But it's always rough. So I don't know, Mike, what are as a drop zone owner and just your experience, what are your thoughts? What do you, in those kind of times, what do you think about? What do you share? What do you focus on?
Well, in general, anytime there's a fatality, it's you're never going to attribute it to one mistake. Unfortunately, anytime we lose a skydiver, you're going to be able to go through there, usually to before they jumped, oftentimes, and count all the times along the way that they could have avoided the demise. In this situation, I don't know, again, without knowing any details, if the winds are high, especially, here's the thing, there's a difference again. Russell and I were talking about military jumping. They say go, we go. We're professional skydivers. That's really the way that works a lot of times. I'm not saying that's okay. What I'm saying is that if you're doing it professionally, you're being paid to do a job, you're there to do a mission, it's different. If we're just frolicking out on the weekends, having a good time, why are you going to take the risk? You're spending $35, $40 to go jump out of an airplane. Make it the day you want it to be, man. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not talking about this situation because I don't know the gentleman who passed away or what's going on. But that being said, if the high winds, I see it all the time with, especially with younger jumpers, I got this. And you see the more experienced guys, they're putting their shit away. So I'm like, if you see those guys over there that have been doing this for years and years and they don't want to go up on the plane, you probably shouldn't be. And so that's probably one of the big things I see. And then you talked about all the other factors again, which we just don't know. How he set himself up, you know, I don't know if it was last year or the year before last, we had a plane problem and a whole plane of us unloaded over Elsinore. And like low, like 3,500, 4,000 feet, like over the neighborhood. They're like, you know, it's the only time in my career I've had a real like red light, get out, you know, red light, open the door, green light, go, go, go. We all just split out. I was first one out the door. I turned, pitched, and then I watched all these people jump out and start tracking. I'm like, I'm like, where are you going? I'm like, save your altitude, get your parachute out as fast as you can get your parachute out. I just didn't understand the thinking. And a few dudes, you know, no one got really hurt, but some people went in hard and some people went in downwind. There's a perfect example where I'm like, you know, they put themselves in scenarios where they had no choice. And so I don't know what this guy's situation was. I don't know how high he opened. We don't know what he was aiming for. If he thought he could get somewhere and then he couldn't, we just don't know. So without all those things in place, it's really hard to make a judgment call. But in the end, when you see somebody die, usually there's, you know, 2, 3, 4 decisions that could have stopped it.
Yeah.
We had a situation like that at Chicago a bunch of years ago, Chris. I think the woman I was speaking to on that particular jump, Taneva, I don't think she listens to the podcast, but we were having a discussion before we went up about, do we call the landing direction in the loading area, or do we let the first person down set the direction? And she wanted to call it before we went up. A lot of people do. And I think with the situation that you're talking about here, it is important to say that if I recall about San Marcos, it's pretty wide open in the landing area. Is that right? There's not a lot of stuff around.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you go too far, there is. But yeah, you're right.
Sure.
It's pretty open.
But I remember like farm fields and
yeah. There's plenty of space. Plenty of space.
And you know, Mike and I are both in Arizona a lot. There's Skydive Arizona. It's a big drop zone. And every once in a while somebody sets the pattern that's slightly downwind, and maybe they're not paying attention, or maybe it changed slightly or whatever. But it is important for people to understand that if it is downwind, even even if it's cruising, that's probably better to just take a downwind landing than it is to try and turn low.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
As long
Oh
as
yeah.
you as long as you have a clear pathway in front of you. I mean, if you're going 40 miles an hour into a building, you need to do something.
Yeah.
But if but if it's open farm field, I mean, you're probably going to get banged up. Um, you're going to tumble, but you're going to PLF and hopefully kind of keep yourself tidy. But man, a low turn where the ground interrupts your turn, and you didn't get to flare. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, you're not going to die from a downwinder. So I think it is important to say that. Um, I think it's also important, as Mike's talking about, like an emergency situation, which this is kind of an emergency situation, right? Like it was a steady wind maybe when they went up, and maybe they should have seen the possibility because atmospheric conditions change all the time. Um, but if you've made 5 jumps in the day and it's been 20 miles an hour, but it's been a steady 20, okay, it's within my wind limits and it's not gusting, and then suddenly it's 40. And I'm sure they tried to call up and people were already out of the plane and all that kind of stuff. And so, not by no fault of your own, but maybe you weren't an idiot in the situation. You know, let's if we give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and you find yourself there, as Mike talks about being in an aircraft emergency. How much have people thought about those scenarios? What would I do? And so hopefully when something like that happens, there's at least some people who have mental prep, or you know Mike, as a competitor, went up, and on every single competition load and on every single training jump, he's visualizing what he's going to do on that jump. 100% of those jumps, I guarantee it. And so if you spend at least some time visualizing, what am I going to do when it's fucked up? Then what am I going to do if the pilot turns around and says, get out, and it's 1,000 feet? What am I going to do if that's 2,000 feet? What am I going to do if it's 3,000 feet? Like, working your way through those mental gymnastics of what are my options, what can I do, what if the wind kicks up and I messed up my landing pattern and I'm going downwind? Should I turn? Should I keep going downwind? At what altitude do I just ride in a downwind landing if I'm at 100 feet, if I'm at 200 feet? And so, the whole point of parachutists publishing the incident reports that they publish is that people get to see what happened, and there's somebody on the other side breaking down, just as Mike did, what could what could have broken that chain of events. And perhaps if everything went the same way, but your buddy had visualized or mentally prepped, this is what I will do in that scenario, maybe that's a slightly different outcome, because we're all going to fuck up, and airplanes are mechanical things, and I guarantee Mike is doing everything he can to keep that plane in good shape. And there's a maintenance schedule, and he's sticking to it. And even if he's renting planes, he's making sure that all that stuff is adhered to, and yet the plane can break. And Elsinore is a good drop zone, and I know the guys running that place, and they're not cavalier. They're taking it seriously, and yet the plane broke down. So just visualizing those things can be super helpful when things go sideways.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you, JRuss. That's very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on, Mike. We can't hear you. No. I don't know if it's switched audio or something.
Check.
Now we can.
Oh,
now
there
we
we
got
go.
you. There you go.
Oh, weird. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really that day. It's hard to remember. I can't remember if we were borrowing the plane or what it was, but come to find out, there was nothing wrong with the plane. We went back up in it right after we got back down, but it was out of safety and precaution that they made that decision. Yeah. But, so we got down there like, oh, the plane's fine. I was like, well, perfect.
I'll go on the next load. You guys go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the nature of what we do, It's funny you say that, Russell, because I think I've been in a situation in Arizona once I think we were at 21,000 feet or something like that. Everyone's on O2, and one of the engines starts backfiring, or, and then everyone panics. you know, except for some of the more experienced people are like, calm down. You know what I mean? Same thing with remember that when we had to do that go around on the world record, a couple world records passed, and they had already popped smoke, and then the pilot started closing the door, and all these big tough sponsored dudes are like, go open the door, ah! And I'm like, oh my god, relax, everybody. I was like, we're really high and we don't have a lot of oxygen. I was like, just stick the tube in your mouth and shut up.
That's awesome. Okay, Mike, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
In all of skydiving, what do you think you know the most about? Like, if I said you got to talk about one topic, one discipline, one thing in skydiving, what do you know the most about?
Oh God.
Not to be cocky,
question.
not to be prideful or arrogant, just honestly, what do you know a lot about? What have you spent time learning and understanding and figuring out? Like, what do you know?
Transitions.
Huh?
No,
Transitions?
Transitions. No, transitions is like an ongoing joke because I claim to be a transition master.
Like head up to head down to head up? Transitions.
You name it, pal.
Okay, I love it. Yes. All right,
but
dude.
If I were going to give a true expertise as to something that I've spent most of my career doing, in all honesty, is teaching. I'm an AFF instructor. I have about 3,000 hours in the wind tunnel coaching.
Okay.
You know, I coach with, like I said, Arizona Arsenal, and it is one of the things that I'm absolutely most proud about. I've taken students from nothing. I've taught students to become national competitors. It's something that I feel that I know a lot about.
Okay, dude, you're speaking my jam. Like, I think it's so interesting. I'm always asking people about coaching. Like, I just want to understand what it means to be a good coach. I want to be a better coach. I want to learn. I want to know how to help people get from where they're at to where they want to be. So what comes to mind when you think about coaching and you have a new young coach that wants to be better? What do they need to know? What are you seeing that they're doing wrong or right? Or I don't know, just what comes to mind?
Couple of things. One, fundamentals. Coaches don't teach fundamentals enough anymore. You know, a lot of times you get in the wind tunnel with a coach and, you know, they want to show you how fast they can get you on their back fly, how fast they can get you to your sit fly, or, you know, to your head down or whatever it is. But here's the reality. Like, all flying resides on the belly or the back, all of it. It's just a matter of like how steep of an angle that really is. So no one spends enough time anymore truly teaching the belly and the back, and then building those fundamentals into a strength of where they're going to help them grow through the rest of their journey as becoming a better flyer. Sometimes you don't always have that, you know, you don't always have students with endless pocketbooks. Sometimes you get that person that's going to get to do 15 minutes a month, and we're going to get to do that, you know, maybe get to do 3 or 4 hours over them over a couple of years, and you have to try to you have to meet in the middle. But sometimes you get those ones at endless pocketbook, and I can spend 3 hours on her back. I can spend 3 hours doing those transitions from back to belly. I can make them exactly how I want to mold them, you know, but that's the balance. But if I were to say that for young coaches, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes. And these days, something I think that we're doing a disservice. I think we're charging too much. You know, guys get a tunnel rating, they turn around, they're like, $300 for 15 minutes. And I get it, but what we're doing is you're taking yourself out of the game, because you're setting the rates for guys like myself that has a bunch of experience, a profile like Jason Russell. He's got a profile. You hear people say they got time with JRuss. He flies around the country to fly with people. His rate's probably similar to that. When I was a young coach, I coached for free. I didn't care. I wanted the tunnel time so that I could learn to be a better coach, you know. And then as time went on, you know, I remember the point when I was doing 3 or 4 hours a week, and I told all my students, I said, hey, I'm charging $10 a night now. And I felt terrible. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm charging people. I'm not ready to be charging people. And they all had this great big dinner for me next to the tunnel. And they bought me they bought me an Optima and an altimeter, and they had a great big party for me. You know,
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay,
so yeah.
Okay, now I want to ask you like a specific practical question about coaching and teaching people in the wind. And JRuss, I really would like to hear from you too. Let's just talk about belly flying. Okay, I'm helping someone learn how to belly fly and I want to help them get really, really good at belly flying. Low wind speeds versus high wind speeds versus medium wind speeds. What do you think? Like, talk to me about wind speed, because I see sometimes instructors or coaches, they have a tendency to like faster wind speed, make the flyer like kind of fly small, some really low. So I just want to hear your opinions and your thoughts and help me be a better coach when it comes to wind speeds, teaching people belly and level 1, level 2, belly back flying. Teach me.
Mike, you go.
Do you understand what I'm asking you, Mike?
Do you remember the Bruce Lee quote, "Never limit yourself to one style"?
Yeah, he says, I don't like styles. Styles separate men. It's a process of continuing growth. That was his quote.
Yeah, never limit yourself to one style. I also say that's true when we talk about coaches. You know, like fly with different coaches, fly with different styles. Russell and I teach differently, but oftentimes, you know, we end up in the wind tunnel from time to time. And I don't know if there's a better, slower, fast. In Europe, there's a lot of slow speed progression. You know, but if you're going to learn from some of the belly dogs, you know, some of those guys, they pipe up the wind speed for Jesus Christ. They put weights in the wind tunnel. You heard about the guy that got in the wind tunnel with a weight belt? He asked for more wind.
Just take off the weight, bro.
Sorry, I had to do it.
That is such a nerdy tunnel joke. Like, you know?
Yeah. So, but the funny part is like, it's a really loaded question. It's a hard question to answer because every student, depending on where they're trying to go and what they're trying to learn and what they're trying to do, is going to dictate that path I'm going to take with them. They're going to get a little bit of both.
Okay.
But depending on where we're going, it's going to decide what that wind speed is. I don't really feel that there's a better shot one way or the other. I can argue with Russell about Shelf or Daffy all day long.
Oh, we might need to hear that argument. All right, JRuss, answer this, and we might need to get into the Shelf and Daffy. I'm interested to hear that.
The low speed, high speed stuff. Well, yeah. I mean,
just wind speeds in general, coaching, teaching.
I don't know, man. I mean, I agree with Mike. If you go over to Europe, everybody's teaching low speed, and there is utility to that. At a very low wind speed, you can say that you can fly this angle fly body position at this speed if you do everything right. And so if you don't do everything right, you fall in the net. I find that to be, I mean, it can be useful, but like some of the camps that I've heard people talk about, I've never done one myself, of like, oh, I bought 10 hours in whatever European tunnel and I did 10 hours of low speed flying. I don't know that I agree with that. Like, I don't think you're going to go out on most skydives and stretch out as much of your body as you can across the horizontal and then try and continuously fly that. It's not how most skydiving goes. So a low speed, a high speed, a medium speed, what are you trying to accomplish? I think low speed has a place to teach proper mechanics. I think that also high speed has a place as far as teaching people how to handle. I mean, if like, how many times has Bohn taught some woman who's 120 pounds? Well, you can't teach her only low speed skydiving because she's going to go to the DZ and she's going to jump with 200-pound dudes and all she knows how to do is go slow. What was the point? Like, she can wave at everybody as they sink out and she feels like, I don't even know what I'm doing after I spent 4 hours with this coach because I can't keep up with anybody. All I can do is go super slow. So I don't know that there's one answer that really fits other than what are you trying to accomplish in that moment? Or where would you like to go with your skydiving? I don't know what we would argue about for Shelf and Daffy. I mean,
let's
I'm willing
hear it.
to
Bring
learn.
it. Go, Mike, get him.
I don't, the funny thing is I don't really have, it's just a constant back and forth, I think, between lots of coaches. But everything Russell said is true. I lean more towards higher speed teaching, and then breaking them into slow speed later is more my style. A lot of guys do start with the slow, but at least when it comes to free flying, free flying head down and carving and stuff like that, I like the higher speed stuff first. No, shelf and Daffy, it's a never ending battle. We see the guys that learn shelf. I feel like it's a little easier for people to pick up shelf when they're first learning, but it becomes harder to go from shelf to your Daffy versus if you learn Daffy first, you can kind of get wider and then slowly lean into the shelf. So I feel like it's easier to transition them. But
I think we're starting an argument. Look at JRuss's face. JRuss.
Oh God, bro! I mean, this happens in the wind tunnel all the time. I've seen Russell. Yeah, go ahead, Russell.
Yeah,
I was just going to agree with you that I normally teach people shelf first because I think it's a much easier position to understand with your hip and your leg alignment. Like all you're really doing is to do shelf. All you're really doing is taking a person who's standing upright with a nice posture, flipping them over, and bending their knees at 90 degrees. Like that's head down. Like most people have been vertical their whole lives. It's just head up. You don't walk around with some fucked up, I'm going to walk around with my head way back here and my hips forward. Like you're aligned in a vertical orientation. And so I find shelf to be easier in the first moments. And then I think that, but I mean, I use Daffy all the time. And I mean, that of course that I think that if you were going to sell Daffy on, this is its best feature. If you want to go fly in big ways, you must learn Daffy. There's no other, you learn, I mean, you can know shelf, but it's not going to serve you very well in a big way situation when people are knocking into you. But I do think it's easier to teach them shelf in the beginning. And then once they understand the flow of head down, then separating their legs into a Daffy, I find that to be easier. But I teach people both.
Yeah, it has its moments though. Every now and then you need to get that front leg out of the way. So there's that. You need to be able to do anything if you really do. When you really start getting into big ways, you just got to be able to do anything at any given time to help the people around you. That's it. That's the whole goal. Make everybody around you smoother. That's it.
And you know how you can do that best is to fly VFS at all other times. then when you get to the big way, you're ready. You've been knocked around. You're all set for the big way.
God, Russell. God, I'm surprised that he doesn't teach blocks.
Man. I
don't know why he doesn't start teaching blocks to local kindergartens about VFS for crying out loud. We know.
we need to start having a youth program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm always giving Russell a hard time, when they're in like round 6, and I'm like, you guys don't really need to fly the last 3 rounds.
Mike flies VFS. Don't let him fool you. He's good at it. Okay, Mike. So we're at 58 and a half minutes, so we don't have to stop in an hour, but normally we go about an hour. With all the stuff going on in the world, tell us are we going to be starting to pay more for jump tickets?
I had an hour-long meeting with my contractor this morning in which I purchased fuel, not even related to the drop zone now that I run the fuel for the airport. So I'm looking at fuel a lot closer than I ever have in my life. I'm looking at barrel pricing every day. I'm watching the events in the Middle East regularly from an uneducated eye. And from the eye of what the media tells us, and we just don't know what the truth is. All that being said, I will be surprised if we don't see jump tickets go up a little bit. I'll be very surprised. But of course,
they'll come back down as soon as the conflict's over, right?
This guy told me the other day, and he's like an old school fuel dog from the contract thing. What he told me? He's like, let me tell you something. He's like, you ever heard of rocket ships and feathers? And I was like no, I don't understand rocket ships and feathers. He's like, you raise the price like a rocket ship. And he's like, you bring it down like a feather.
I agree with that.
Rocket ships and
Yeah,
feathers.
rocket
Yeah,
ships and feathers, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
oh shit. It kind of made sense. But yeah, if you watch, even if you look at all the diesel pricing right now or your gas pricing at the pump currently, it changes on an hourly basis or even on a daily to hourly basis. Is how fast they adapt to the market. Jet fuel trends at most of the places you're going to see jet fuel and avgas trends. They're 1 week behind what's happening at the pump because they usually do weekly updates. So you're not going to see this like quick shot at it. But that being said, if we keep seeing the gas prices go up at the pump, you can bet that the jet fuel and all that stuff is right behind it. It's already hit us. I'm up $1.50 from where I was 2 months ago on most of the product.
Is that per gallon or what is it? What do you mean?
Oh yeah, per gallon. Yeah.
You're up $1.50 per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah, and climbing. And right. Yeah, and I got the forecast today. The forecast for next week is an additional, I think, another raise of 15 to 20 cents.
Goodness, man.
yeah. There was a head up record and a head down record. I don't think it was the last one of each. There was some event in Eloy. Maybe it was Project 19 or the head up record. I can't remember. But Amy and Sarah were like, guys, the fuel prices are changing so fast, so much. We cannot tell you guys what registration is. We're going to collect what we think is right, and if fuel prices wildly change, we have to charge you guys more. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And Rook at Skydive Chicago was saying the same thing. Like this is the wildest ride I've seen fuel prices go on.
Man.
And I imagine it's. I mean, maybe not that bad right now, but.
I sent out my the jump packages to the jumpers this year. They can buy 100 jumps, 50 jumps, and I put in the email. I was like, "Hey, you might want to do this year. If you've never bought a jump package before at a drop zone, this might be your year to get those jump tickets early because if shit keeps going crazy, the DZOs and operators, we're going to have no other choice because it's just going to be too expensive. We're going to have to raise the price on everything."
Yeah. Man.
So before we go, Mike, can you just like give your drop zone a plug? Like, where are you guys at? What's the location like? Are you open 7 days a week? How do people get to you? What's your social media like?
If you check out skydiveorangeskies.com, or simply look us up on Instagram, Orange Skies Free Fall Center, you'll find us all over the place. I'm out in Fort Morgan, Colorado. We're northeast of Denver, probably about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour drive. We're on 300 acres of land. I've got a beautiful airplane that I rent from Skydive Midwest, and my jumpers out here. Funny enough, I think some of the local reputation for Mile High is that we're a bunch of elitists, but the people that actually come out and jump at Orange Skies, they're the nicest people. I have the best jumpers. I have the nicest jumpers. Most of my crew out there, we're all sober. Most of us are parents. You know what I mean? We're all a little bit older, but we value our students. We work really hard on our AFF program, and we're just a really inviting crew. But we do value skills, so we're always trying to coach. Everyone's trying to teach everybody. You're never going to come out to my place and see that like cliquey attitude. You're not going to jump with us. It's just not how we roll out here. You get an opportunity to jump with everybody. It's a very inviting place, but it's still a small drop zone, so it's easy to be that way.
And you guys are outside of Denver, or where exactly are you?
Yeah, we're outside of Denver, about 45-minute drive, northeast.
Northeast of Denver, about 45 minutes. Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, and it's not that hard to find. I've only been out there once or twice, but actually, Steph and I have a neighbor that decided he wanted to go skydiving. That was the last time I was there. We met him out there and got to make a skydive at Mike's place. It's nice, huge landing area, super easy to find. It's I wouldn't say it's right next to the highway. It's maybe a mile or two, but
we're probably like 2.5 miles, 3 miles off the highway.
Yeah, but super easy to find, and was very. I mean, for me, I ran into a bunch of people that I've known but I hadn't seen for a long time, so it was nice to be out there, like they had an otter at that time. I think you had maybe an Arizona otter.
Yeah, Sean Hill sent us one when we had a maintenance problem.
Yeah, but definitely like a lot of lift capacity, I think, but very very small drop zone feel. Felt nice.
But you said y'all use Keith's Caravan from Skydive Midwest sometimes.
Yeah,
I wonder what percentage of skydivers have jumped out of that plane, because I've jumped out of it in Texas. Like that plane has been so many places. Like how many skydivers have jumped out of that plane? That's cool.
I don't know. I love working with Keith. He's so good. He's so good at me. You know, he's a former Marine too, like me. So I don't know. We just get along, me and that guy. And ever since we started working together, I haven't been happier as a DZO. He really takes care of my drop zone, and he's just a pleasure to be around.
That's awesome. Well, if you guys are listening and you want to check out the website, skydiveorangeskies.com is their website. So go check them out. Like Mike said, they're about 45 minutes northeast of Denver. Cool, man. Are y'all operating? When's your normal season? When do y'all run from?
We start operating April 3rd this year.
Okay.
We kick it off and we go till about November 1st.
Okay. It's been a pretty mild winter, hasn't it? Has it? Is that true?
It's 84 degrees today, and it's expected to break 90 tomorrow.
Dang, that's crazy. In North Colorado or whatever. That's insane.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else on your mind, Mike, or anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, I'm really grateful for you to think of me, you guys. Russell, I watch all the great flyers, come on here and talk to you guys. And, you know, I never thought I'd really get an opportunity, but you asked me the other day, and I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, I'll do it. That's cool. So I much appreciate having an opportunity to sit on here and talk shit with you guys.
Yeah, it's really fun, man. Really nice to meet you, Mike. I'm really glad that you joined us. Really cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Bohn. I'll see you at the next contract.
Yes, sir. Always.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us for another Crave podcast, and try to, the season's opening up. Get recurrent. Go to safety day if you can. Make sure that you're up to speed on your getting ready for being able to jump after an off season for a lot of you guys. So try to be ready for that. Maybe pick up a couple episodes of the Crave Show, and get some refreshers going on your flying skills or your canopy skills, and hopefully you can get out there and enjoy the skies with your friends, and maybe try out Mike's place, and always be thinking about the Crave motto of do more and be better.
Hey, okay, can I say something real quick on that?
No, it's my turn.
Sorry. my friend the other day, he's like, dude, what's up with the Crave motto? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, do more, be better. He's like, do you know what crave means, bro? I was like, yes, I know what crave means. He's like, crave, like you want it so bad. He goes, and your motto is do more, be better. It's like so bland. He goes, your motto should be like, crave, I'm effing hungry. I'm fucking hungry. I was like, I kind of like that. I was like, that's actually kind of good, man. Crave, I'm effing hungry.
That makes me think of what Mike said earlier, though. Like, you know what you need? You need a better motto. Like, well, okay, go start your own business, buddy.
Yeah. No, this guy's cool. He was cracking me up. Like, he was making me laugh. I was like, I kind of like it. All right. Sorry. I just want to throw that out there. Cool.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Mike. And for the rest of you guys, hopefully you can tune in again next week. I think we got Norm Kent next week. That should be a good show.
Oh, yes.
Just
that's awesome.
Continuing on with the greatness of Mr. Bohn and extending it into more greatness coming up.
Very cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys. Blue skies.